Hi class, Esther Marie Keppenigro here, and we are going to be discussing acrylic paints. And first, I'd like you to know about materials. And the material list that we have for this course is a set of 12 colors. I suggest either Blick, Liquitex, Basics, or golden acrylics. I do suggest a painting pad or canvas boards about 9 inches by 12 inches or larger. 3 brushes, minimum for this acrylic class. A round brush is important. Okay, so a nice round brush is important. See this nice round brush. A number 5 flat brush. Okay. This is like a number 5 flat brush and a 0 or a 1 brush. So something like so. So very, very fine. So we can make some details. Another thing that I wanted to discuss with you was also a water container. All right. And rags, something that is like something that's recyclable. I could reuse this over and over again. So I'll be using these during the course. You could use some tape maybe if you'd like. And I guess I said rags, right? Plus container. All these materials are approximately $40 to $50 altogether. Extra things that would be useful if you'd like to get extra things, that would be the color wheel, pencil, the gum eraser, or regular eraser. As I just showed you before, the artist tape. Sponge would be great. Cotton balls are great, even like Q-tips. A spray bottle would be really useful as well. A toothbrush, even, and if you'd like to try the mediums like gloss and matte, fan brush also. Okay. So as we move forward, I would like you all to make this like a grid form so we could do all these techniques. But the techniques that we're going to be going over I'll show you right now some of them because I've already started, but I will do an example again. So let me just change the viewpoint so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so the dry brush here, as you can see here, the dry brush, it's not using any water for the dry brush, all right? And just the paint. So do this to gain texture from the paper or canvas. Make strokes. You could even make very solid colors doing this as well. Let me show you that. So you see this palette that I have, and I just place the paints there. And I'm just, like I said before, going to just use the brush, no water. The brush, and you can make very solid colors like so. Isn't that great? But I also love, look at those textures that you can create. Combining or combing, that is, or sgraffito. So what you can do with this is we just use the darker red and I just placed it down on this piece of paper. You can even use the back of your brush and make lines like so, okay? Now, sgraffito or combing, you just place a layer or two of paint And then you start etching into it to create a design to reveal what is underneath. Now, wet on wet, we're just gonna add water, lay down water on your paper, then drop down acrylic paint, just like watercolor, and it has a very similar effect. So I just got some water and I'm going to place that on top of this other color. And then I'm going to get some of that yellow and just go over like so. It's a nice watery look to it, just like watercolor. Now, with splatter, I'm going to use a different kind of brush. It has harder like bristles. And I'm going to use some of this glue over here, place it onto these bristles. And I'm just gonna splatter it right here. Just want you to see the effect that I did with splatter. So small little dots. So and then I wanted to show you impasto. In pasta, we're going to be using a palette knife. And I'll use that deep red again, the cadmium red again. And look at how you could just place it on here. So notice how impasto is. So you use a palette knife instead of a brush. One can create a lot of texture this way as well. So you see how it's thickened also over there. See like the texture that you're getting? You see that? Okay, I'm gonna clean this brush now, or this palette knife. Keep all of your materials nice and clean so you could use it again. Okay. Oh, the next one I did was stencil, right? So I'm going to show you a different way to do the stencil. Let me move this over. And I'm going to do another stencil in here. So what I did was I just cut the paper and then I started cutting spots. You could just make your own stencil if you'd like. And then I'm going to place this imagery like so. And just gonna get a little bit of that paint, a little bit of the water, a little bit of the paint. And I'm gonna just use that blue and go over like so. You wanna make another one. And then I'm gonna use more paint. You see the way that it's working here. Let me show you it closer. Okay. So the stencil you can use or even stamps to create an interesting pattern. You paint on top of the stencil, then lift the stencil or the stamp up and peel it off to expose the design. Make sure you wash the stencil once you are done. The one that I made is basically disposable. I'm not keeping it. Okay. And then the next one that you see here are drips. So you can go and bring some water to it. Let me get another color. We have a visitor here. Oh, my boy. No, no, you're not going to be getting these. I've got a cat over here and he's curious. It's not good. All right. So see how I'm using the paint and then I'm just using the paper in an angle so that it drips. That's how we drip. So to create this dripping technique, you, like I said before, add lots of water to the acrylic paint, angle the paper so it drips. You can guide the drips the way you would like them to go. All right, I showed you the splatter again, and this is by using bristles and you use the flat brush. You get paint on the brush, then load up with paint, and then you can flick the bristles to create this on your paper. And you can even try to control those splatters. Okay, so let me show you how you do that. I'm going to be using this brush and just splattering it. Let me get a darker color so you can see it better. It's really messy. So you might want to do it in a place where it doesn't matter if it gets messy or not. Okay. I'm going to clean that brush off. All right. And now I want you to see what scumbling is. Scumbling is just like you're using a colored pencils. We create a scumbling with acrylic paint. So create circular motions, but keep control. So I'm going to use that deep red again. I'll show you what the scumbling is. So making circles, right? But in circle, what's a circle? I'm cleaning off the brush. Okay, the next one is masking. So using masking tape, as you could see, I already placed a couple of parts over there. And then what I want you to do is add the paint on top. Add more colors if you'd like more sort of dimension to it, so it's not so flat. Then once the paint is dry, you can peel off the tape. If your lines are not perfect, you can always fix this. Just add paint to the parts. But let's just add some of this color over here. Maybe I'll just add some red as well, some cad red. Get a nice orange. And I'll wait until that is dry. Soft edges. Okay, so notice how you might want to have soft edges. You can use another brush to soften the edges. I prefer, and I think you should know that using a brush that doesn't have already paint on it, that's very dry, that works. I'll go back to the hard edge over there, but Let's get more colors and let's do layers. So we have this nice deep alizarin crimson. I will let that dry and I'll go back on it once it is dry. So I just want to show you it again. That's layered. I did not layer it yet. It's just the first layer. Um, then we're going to do some stippling. Okay, stippling is yeah, one of my favorite pastimes, let's just say. And I will use this and it's just very delicately placing dots all over the place. And I'll change the color. Integrate the yellow with the red dots. If you do like working this way, there's an artist you should look up, and his name is Sarah. Scribbling. Oh, yeah, you could scribble with paint too. Definitely. Little scribble there, little scribble here. Add more paint, get more, and just scribble, scribble. All right. As you can see here, stippling and scribbling. The next two are one is tick hatching, and then the other one is woven hatching. So I'm gonna use my two brush, zero or two brush is fine. And this is what tick hatching looks like. Okay, so woven hatching, as you can see here, it's more like lines. It's gonna remind you of like a basket, woven basket, right? It does for myself. All right. There's other ways. There's also contour hatching, cross hatching. But let's see what's going on. Okay, this looks dry now, so I'm going to use another brush, and this is for layering. But first, let's see that again. So the woven hatching, the tick hatching, scribbling, stippling, layered. Let's use some of that yellow to go on top of this layered part. Okay. Yeah. I have a visitor again. Elroy. Hey boy. Let's see. All right, so let me fix this. Let's go back to where we were before. Okay, so I just wanted to show you some techniques for the course. I also want you to think about when you're creating, it's best to draw the images first with pencil before you start laying down things. Using things in front of you, your observation. So when you're creating artwork, it's better to observe something in front of you. Think about when you're looking at these images, seeing geometric shapes as well as free form imagery. Um, we will also be creating improvisational. So you will be jumping right into it and learning to trust your creativity. So if you can do these techniques that we did, if you want to try them again, this is why I did this video. But I also want you to be reminded of what I was saying earlier. Um, there's different types of mediums you can use. Like sometimes um, there's gel medium. It can make it thicker, the paint, if you want to use that for more of a thickness, impasto as well. You would call it like the thickness of the paint, or even gloss medium or matte medium. And you can first lay down the swatch of paint, let the paint dry, and then leave a section on it plain and untouched, and the other section. So do one matte and one gloss. You could see the difference. You could do that also for your techniques. Um, the hard edge, I didn't finish that. So I'm going to show you the hard edge. So let me go back on here again and let's finish what I said before, the hard edge. So the hard edge is when you paint a line and it makes the edges um, well, it creates a very crisp and clean line. So let's go back and let me show you that it tried. So let's go back. All right, so the hard edge. So I'm going to use a nice brush. I'm going to use that red color again and doing a nice hard edge against the soft, right? So see the difference between the hard edge and the soft edge. Soft edges are good to use when you're doing some sunset scenes or sky scenes. That's also good. So again, I was telling you about the impasto. Look at that. It's still wet. It takes a while. When it's a thicker paint, it takes a while. This also is that drip. It's still wet as well. You can tell by just shifting your paper or your canvas side to side, and you can see the sheen, right? Even the wet on wet over here is still wet. Okay, so back to what we were discussing. So what we're going to be doing in class, let me get.
Okay, I hope this helped you with some techniques that you could try. Let me know if you need any help with anything. I'm always here to help. All right, I'll see you at the next class. Bye for now.